All right, folks. Welcome back to Stream Catchers. We have, I guess, an impromptu here review, a deviation from the norm, but we are going to talk
Yeah,
about Black Widow. So, I am one half of your hosts, AB.
I am Jack. Yeah, I'm ready for this little it's a little surprise episode for you guys, a little surprise episode for us. We didn't know we were going to be doing this today or at all, and here we are covering Black Widow. And I'm really excited. I liked the movie quite a bit. I will say after the first viewing, I'll say I've seen it 4 times. I saw it twice in the theaters and twice on Disney Plus. I did purchase it, and after the first time I watched it, I was a little bit underwhelmed just because it had been a long time since we had seen an MCU movie. But so I was a little underwhelmed. But then the next time I watched it, and every subsequent watch, it's a really fun movie. It's really good. It's got great characters. I loved the Red Room. I thought it was really freaking cool. What were your first impressions? What did you think of the movie?
Yeah, I only saw it the one time in theaters. I think it was on opening night. Did the
Okay,
Dolby Digital at AMC.
cool.
If you've never done, anybody listening, if you've never done the Dolby Digital viewing of a movie, you got to do it. It's a little on the pricier side. If you have the AMC A list, I think is what it's called. It's like $20 a month. You could do it on that, so it actually will save you a little bit of money. Uh, but it is a theater experience. The screen is sharper, the speakers are louder. First time I ever did it was when I saw Black Panther a few years ago, and I mean the seat is shaking at the base. It's such a great experience, I think. So if you have the capability, if your city, town, whatever has an AMC with the Dolby Digital, see the next big movie you want to see at the digital. It's worth it for sure. So that's how I saw this. Um, so yeah, I only saw it the one time. I walked out of the theater fine. I was a little underwhelmed by it, but I also didn't
Hmm.
expect to be blown away. It's um, not a minor character by any means. Black Widow's been in the MCU since Iron Man 2, right? So she's been around for a long time. And it's Scarlett Johansson, major star. I think this was actually her best performance as Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow.
I agree.
Um, but I just felt walking out of it like, I don't know, it just wasn't, it didn't land as much as I was hoping. But I shouldn't say as much as I was hoping, as much as other MCU movies have.
Yeah,
But you also have to remember, like you said, it's been a while since we've had an MCU movie, and prior to this, the last few we had were Spider-Man, Endgame, Captain Marvel, which also wasn't the best but pretty good, Ant-Man, Infinity War, Black
yeah,
Panther, Ragnarok, right? So like we had a stretch of great movies.
yeah.
This was good. It had its moments. I don't. It's a weird one to have now because it's not a prequel, it's not a sequel, it's a midquel, right? It takes place between Civil
Right,
War and Infinity War, so it's almost an unnecessary movie. But she's dead, right? So it's
right.
not like you could continue her story. Her story's done.
Yeah.
Um, it was fine. It was fine, I think.
Do you think that this movie would have been better if it had released in sequential order?
I think so. I think it would have had a bigger impact. I think it would have added to the intrigue of Infinity War,
Yeah,
because obviously we're assuming you've seen this if you're listening. So if you haven't, there will be spoilers heavily in here.
yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
The last thing you see before the mid-credit scene is she is getting the Quinjet that will rescue Falcon and Ant-Man and all those guys out of the raft.
Which
So I
is
think,
something I definitely want to talk about later.
sure. So obviously, like that, if we had had that before Infinity War, that would have also added more excitement to Infinity War, if you could believe that. I feel like, because I mean, I don't think I was ever more excited for an MCU movie than Infinity War. So
Mhm.
I do think it would have been better if it had been in sequential order.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know what they would have done with the post-credit sting with Yelena and Val. I don't know when they would have been able to release that and have it make sense. But yeah, I think that I think the movie would have the stakes would have felt higher because you didn't know what was going to happen with Natasha. Yeah, I mean, this coming out after Endgame, you know that she's going to be alive in more MCU properties, you know, moving forward. So I don't know. I think that honestly, I think that if this story could have happened in phase two, it would have been a great movie. I think it would have really made us wiggle our eyebrows at it. But like it being part of phase four, it's you know, we're past a lot of way bigger and better things by the time we get to this movie.
That's actually a really good point. I think phase two, because phase two I think is the shortest phase of the four so far. If they had been able to sort of jiggle that in there before Age of Ultron to give her that moment to have because that was a big thing. Was that her story in Age of Ultron? Was the blood in the ledger and all that?
Yeah.
And so like
No, that was
have
well, they mentioned it in the first Avengers movie. So so moving forward, yeah, it would have been phase two, I guess. Yeah.
yeah. So I think it would have been the best place to really hold that. I think. Again, yeah. Then you don't know about the Val Yelena post credit scene. I guess they could have put that at the end of Endgame. I know they didn't do a post credit scene in Endgame. Probably didn't want to. Probably didn't really need to. But that could have been the best place to put that because then you
Oh,
have this like,
that's
well, who's this Val
true.
character? Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
where she
yeah. Because you
dies,
didn't know Val yet.
and that
But
would
she
have been
could
a
have
good
just
place to
been
be
a
like, who's
mystery character. I mean, they could have had her like honestly. Okay, so they could have had the scene. They would have had to tweak it a lot, but they could have like had it be a rainy scene, and she comes in with an umbrella. You don't even get to see her face. You only get to see like this much of her face and her voice, and we know who it is because it's Elaine. But it's that would have been kind of cool to have an unnamed character and then her name drop her actual name, her Val name, so everybody gets on and Googles it when they get home from the or no, I guess it would have been in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but still that would have been really cool
well,
to
this was
have that
supposed to
after
come out
Endgame.
before Falcon Winter Soldier. Remember, the pandemic
Oh, that's
messed things up.
true.
This was supposed to be her introduction. And then she was supposed to get further clarification in Falcon Winter Soldier.
Do you think it would have been the exact scene, or do you think they would have had to tweak it, like I said?
I think it would have been the exact scene because this movie was done. Remember, I don't think they went and reshot that.
Interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. She was supposed that was supposed to be her introduction. That was the whole thing when she popped up in Falcon Winter Soldier. Everybody was like, "This is a character that was supposed to be introduced in Black Widow." She shot a scene already for that, and they just had to switch the order because of the pandemic.
I guess it doesn't really matter.
No,
I feel like it's almost I feel like it's almost stronger the way that they've done it, the way that they introduced her in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
It worked out for the best, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But just knowing that scene could have been an Endgame post-credit scene or mid-credit scene, although I know they probably didn't want to do something like that for Endgame. It was supposed to be just like what it is.
Yeah.
But that this movie taking place now, yeah, it would have been stronger earlier on. But I don't want to make it seem like it was a bad movie. I did at times enjoy it. It's your typical Marvel one-liners and things like that, which I'm sort of starting to get. I'm kind of over that. I want them to sort of switch it up a bit. It's
Okay.
nice here and there, but when it's every movie, it's like I don't know. It does you get fatigued on it, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think Thor Ragnarok really was really the start of that fatigue for me. Not that I'm not saying I dislike Thor Ragnarok. I'm not even saying that I am over that kind of
Sure.
angle or comedy. Like I do like that. I like that it's been present and but I see where you're coming from. I see like because they do a really good job in this movie specifically in Black Widow of letting the drama play like drama and then having those comedic moments be their own thing, if that makes sense. If I hope I'm making sense,
No,
because
I
it like
totally get what you're saying.
it feels like even though they have those kind of one-linery moments, those little joke moments, I don't feel like it takes away from the stakes of the drama in the moment.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. They didn't do it as much as a Guardians movie or Ragnarok or even like an Ant-Man type movie. They didn't do it as
Hmm.
much. It was still there. But I'm glad they kept it to a minimum at most. I mean, like David Harbour was great. I thought he was awesome as Red Guardian.
Yes. Yeah, me
Um,
too.
and I did like the Yelena making fun of the pose
That
whole
was kind of
aspect of it.
silly.
I thought that was a good touch. So like it's not it's it just I don't want to say that I have Marvel fatigue, but at a certain point sometimes it's like there's a lot of it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They definitely have a formula, and I'm almost just ready for them to switch up the formula a bit.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
I think because I think when you look at the MCU as a whole, it was so successful to start out, right? Obviously with Iron Man and Thor and Cap, they were so different from what we were used to from superhero movies, but they still hadn't really found what the MCU would become. If you go back and you watch those older movies, they hold up perfectly fine, but they're very different from what the modern Marvel movie is. And then
Yeah.
like Avengers comes, and then they have Phase Two, and all that's great. And then it was somewhere in Phase Two, I think, around Guardians, where they had really switched it up, and you started getting the one-liners and the comedy, and they started to find that formula a bit.
Yeah.
Um, and that's just kind of been the case for the last 7 years. So it's like there's definitely a contrasting when you watch a current Marvel movie versus an older one.
There definitely are scenes in phase one that seem like they're taking themselves a little bit too seriously.
I agree.
And,
Like
and
Thor, I
and
think.
especially with like with the costuming being the way that it was in phase one, where they were kind of trying to be a more like I'm kind of referencing mostly Avengers, where the
Mm,
costuming is like so like it's so close to comic booky costuming that it's like when they have those super dramatic moments and then you see them in like costumes that are based on comic books, it's a little cheesy. It comes across as cheesy
Cap and
rather
Thor
than
specifically, I think.
yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
yeah, I agree that they really did find, and especially because with Cap after Avengers, they had a much more modernized take on Cap, which fit the narrative, and it made it seem. I mean, you can watch Captain America and the Winter Soldier and forget that you're watching a superhero movie. You know what I mean? And I
Definitely.
think that's important.
Definitely. And I would say, to bring it back to Black Widow, I think that I did feel like we were not watching a superhero movie, which I would
Yeah.
credit that this movie to. That is, it felt like I think you told me over text or something that it felt like I don't know if you said Mission Impossible or something along those lines, like just a good, like an action movie, just a good
Yeah,
action movie.
it's kind of a middle of the road MCU movie as far as quality and enjoyment goes, but it is a high stakes action thriller movie
Yeah,
that works. It's really good.
I agree. I agree. I think that for me too, I think, obviously you had the beginning where they're kids, and that's they're in Ohio, and then they bring it to modern day, and then from that point it's pretty action packed, and
Yeah.
then obviously there's a lot of action towards the end, but there's a longer middle where there's really not a whole lot going on. I think the point where they break Alexei out of prison and then they're
Hmm.
at the house, there's just like this long drawn out sort of just dialogue, almost Tarantino-esque, where it's just dialogue,
Right.
and
Well,
and
that's
then
the
they get
first
captured.
scene. That's the first scene where they have the team together, and then it gets a little expositional right
Yes.
before they find out that Melina has contacted the Red Room, and that the agents are going to be there soon. That scene does drag on a little bit, but even then, like even then, there are great moments. There's Alexei puts on his costume and it still fits. There's
Ish.
yeah, well, there's the dramatic scene where Natasha kind of calls everybody on their bullshit, and says that they were never a family, and it really gets to Yelena, and she storms off, and they have that nice you know starting off comedic moment with Yelena and Alexei in the bedroom, and Alexei's talking about the story about how his father peed on his hands to prevent frostbite, and he was just playing all of his cards to try to get through to Yelena, and finally, they start singing, American Pie, which is her song.
Oh yeah.
You isolate all those things. They're great moments. In I guess what I'm trying to say is, even though that was the slowest part of the moment of the movie, it still has all those great moments in it too.
It has great moments, and it's not done unnecessarily, right? Like it does, it's done to strengthen the bond between the characters, and of course, they all come together in the end and help each other out, and they're not a family, but there's a family-ish feeling to it, and it does help get you there. But then, of course, I think for me, I think the thing that I like the most is when they finally do get to the Red Room, and it seems like Melina has sold them all out, and then like there's this whole like, oh, we had a plan, and we switched they brought back the mask, which we've seen a few
Mm-hmm.
times now,
That was
and that
kind of
was a good
cool.
yeah, that was a good touch. um
Mm-hmm.
and yeah,
They're
just everything that
spies,
happened.
right? I mean,
Yeah,
they are spies. So it felt a little like, the first time I watched it, I thought that it was a little bit cheesy, the magic masks that change your face. But I mean, it's Shield tech, and this
yeah,
is a spy movie. It made sense. It fits.
right, yeah, it was Mission Impossible-esque, I feel like, where yeah, it
Hmm.
was just a little bit corny, but you get by with acknowledging that yes, they are spies and they're supposed to be secretive and things like that. um I'll tell you what I didn't like though, and I know a lot of people will agree with me on this.
Okay.
I can tell you know where I'm going with it now. As I the Taskmaster reveal was a letdown.
Oh, you didn't like it, really?
Didn't like it. It wasn't just that I didn't like it. It was that it was that that's such a I don't want to say it's not a Thanos level villain, but it's
Right.
not necessarily a small minor character either from the comics, right? Like I would say it's Taskmaster is more of a like a Deathstroke, I suppose, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of
Like a
what. Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much the same, yeah, the same character, but like it's a he, whatever, um, is a bigger character, and you just didn't feel that translate on screen in this movie. It felt like a vehicle for this bigger boss, whereas Taskmaster could have been a major villain on her own.
Okay. I guess I don't know. I like the Taskmaster reveal. I see your points. I thought it was cool. I don't know. It was she looked intimidating. It made sense that she would have a huge grudge against Natasha, and I think that they could have played her. I think they could have done a little bit better. I don't think she necessarily needed to be um, as controlled
That's another
by
gripe, yes.
Dreykov. I think that if she had had a mind of her own, she could have been a better villain, I guess. But like, as far as her identity, like, or as far as Taskmaster's identity, I thought that was kind of a cool reveal.
Yeah, it was fine. I don't know. But I think that would be my biggest gripe is the mind controlled aspect. It's like yeah, imagine if Mr. Freeze was mind controlled, or it's like
Yeah.
Taskmaster on her own, his in the comics, her own is perfectly fine on her own.
It's also the third time in a row that the MCU has led us to believe that a villain was a male character and turned out to be a female character. Falcon and the Winter Soldier with the power broker, Loki with Sylvie, and now
Yeah.
Taskmaster.
Well, I think most people were expecting Sylvie to be Sylvie, or not Sylvie to be Sylvie, but Sylvie to be Lady Loki.
Sure, yeah.
Because we knew Sophia Di Martino was going to be in the show, so I think, and she hadn't been shown yet. So I think, but you're right. You are right. They did set it up to where it's going to be a Loki, and then oh no, it's a female.
Yeah.
And I think even with Sharon Carter, sure, but we also thought that it could be her early on as well, and they did set it up that this is going to be a man, and then it turned out to be a female. I think this is different because this is a character that from the comics historically has been a man,
Yeah.
and they just made it a woman for some reason. I don't know. And like I'm all for female representation.
Oh
I
yeah, for
wanted a
sure.
Black Widow movie, right? So like I obviously have no problem with female lead characters. I just it it feels forced when you take an existing character and you
Hmm.
change their identity for the sake of doing it.
Hmm. Well, I think
And
that I think that with this reveal, the power, like the power, the emotion, the all of what makes the reveal good is that it's a character who you thought was dead, not necessarily that it's a woman character. You know what I mean?
yeah, and I mean, sure, it was like when I did get the reveal, it's like, oh crap, that's right, she's dead. But and that's such a I don't want to say stereotypical, but an obvious trope that is done to death, I think, in movies. The like,
Hmm.
this person was dead, but not really. It's not a very creative thing. Not that that's necessarily a gripe. I don't know. I was shocked.
Hmm.
I would actually equate it to Ray as a Palpatine when
Oh
when they did
wow.
when they did the Ray as a Palpatine in the theater. I was like, oh my god. And then the more I sat with it, I was like, I hate this. I don't like this at all. And not that I
Yeah,
hate this reveal. I don't really hate. It was just it's just underwhelming. I felt. I don't know.
I
I
gotcha.
don't want to make it sound like I'm mad that Taskmaster is a woman, even though that feels like an unnecessary thing. I think that you could have done all of what they've done, just not make it be this existing character,
Hmm.
right?
They
Like
could have even had. Go ahead.
it could have been like a hooded figure, or like your identity is hidden, and then
Yeah.
oh crap, there she is. Because that's not Taskmaster's backstory either.
Hmm.
It's not like
Pretty much exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, they could have had Taskmaster be his own, and also
yeah,
had a reveal where Dracov's daughter is still alive and she's, a widow.
exactly. Yeah, like it feels like having Taskmaster in here is unnecessary, and you could have just saved that character for something else, or you could have had him in here along with Dracov and his daughter, or something, right? But I will say it is cool that Taskmaster is, I guess, alive, and we may see more of her. A
Yeah.
lot of people speculated that she might even be a part of the Dark Avengers team that we may see, which could be
Ooh,
interesting
I hadn't thought about that. That'd
with
be really
Yelena.
cool.
Yeah, so I think that to me was my biggest thing. But I will say that the Taskmaster scenes up until that, and even afterwards, some of the fighting was some of the best parts of the movie, especially when Natasha is driving and gets blindsided and is fighting Taskmaster on that highway. And I think is it Sweden?
I think it's Norway.
Norway. Yeah, I think that was one of the cooler scenes for me too.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of it took me by surprise, even though that was kind of the point in the movie where the big plot needed to approach Natasha because she was in hiding. So like she was not going to get involved in anything. Something
Mm-hmm.
had some, external force had to get her involved. I was not ready for her Jeep or vehicle or whatever it was to get blown up and pinned in a bridge. That was
Exactly.
a good surprise scene.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. I think another thing, Budapest, finding out what exactly happened
Yeah.
in Budapest.
Actually, before I'm gonna stop you. Before we get to
Sure.
that, I just want to ask, real briefly, while we're still on Taskmaster, in the moment when you were seeing it in the theater, who was your guess with the identity of Taskmaster? Did you think it was just gonna go be true to the comics, or what did you think?
I didn't think we'd ever get like a reveal. And then once it got to the point where Taskmaster, I was like, I didn't really realize what was happening until she took the helmet off. Because so I didn't have
Hmm.
time to really guess who was going to be behind the mask. And so at first I was like, oh, it's a woman. Oh, it's her. Oh my God. Okay. Like
Yeah,
I never felt like we were going to find out an identity. I thought it was just going to be it's just going to be the Taskmaster.
yeah. So
Did you have a guess?
real early on, when they were showing Taskmaster and she had the like red, I don't even know what to call that, like this red LED thing happen on her
Yeah.
mask or visor, and then they show like them plugging something into the back of her neck. I thought that it was going to be full robot. I thought it was going to be like Stark Tech, recycled by the
Oh,
Red Room or something. And then later on, I was like, no, you know what? I really do think it's going to be a person. And they hadn't had Melina yet in the movie, and I thought maybe it was going to be Melina because she had seemingly died in kind of the opening when the girls are young. Thought maybe it would be Melina, but that was the
early on in
extent
the
of my
movie.
guessing. Yeah, after they showed Melina, after they bring
Okay.
Melina back into the team, I was like, I have no idea. I have no idea who this person's going to be.
Okay. Yeah,
So
I
so
guess I
they
just
did
never.
get me. Maybe that was part of why I liked the reveal, is because I didn't call it. They totally got me.
Yeah, I guess I just never throughout the movie was trying to guess or thought to guess that we were going to see. Yeah, I guess I just assumed it was a comic accurate Taskmaster, and
Yeah.
that was what it was. Um, it kind of it is what it is, though. I do like that Taskmaster is in the MCU. I just wish they would have done it a little bit differently. I also think the one thing I will say about the MCU that they have been really inconsistent with is creating villains that you care about and feel like are actually going to get the upper hand and win.
Yeah.
And I feel like some exceptions, Marvel's villains in general aren't as exciting as DC's villains. And so I felt like even leading up, like there wasn't, it doesn't really feel like there was that much Taskmaster in the movie up until that point anyway, right? Like a few scenes, but really there wasn't a whole lot of her in there.
Yeah. I mean, there was just really the bridge scene, and then later in at Budapest. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. That's true. So it's like I don't think that they did a good enough job at building up the Taskmaster as this villain that you felt like could come ahead of the heroes. It just didn't.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah,
never.
because even with Budapest, it was more about finding out about the widows, because they're being chased by widows too. And they have
Yeah.
that moment with the widow that chases them along that chimney that they'd fall down
Yeah.
on, and then she drops down and breaks her leg and then has to kill herself. Like, I feel like the all of the Budapest scene, like, that was the most impactful moment of all of the Budapest scenes, in my opinion. Not so much the Taskmaster stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. It just feels like Taskmaster didn't need to be in this at all.
Hmm.
It could have easily just been the Drakov and the widows, and then his daughter being this just cloaked, hooded, masked, whatever you want to call it, figure.
Yeah.
Um, and then you could have saved Taskmaster for something. Taskmaster could have even been, well, I would have said Falcon Winter Soldier, but that didn't need him in there.
They
But
could have made this, could have been a Black Widow 2, and then a Black Widow 1 could have been with Taskmaster and not Dreykov.
that would, yeah, that would have been a good way to do it too. Yeah, that's probably my biggest gripe is it. They just didn't need to have it in there. I guess I don't know, but
Yeah. So okay, so what were you gonna say about Budapest? Sorry, I cut you off.
no, I was just talking about that we
Well, we
found out
finally
that,
got to find out what happened in Budapest with Natasha and Clint.
and they even got Jeremy Renner to voice a little bit of a phone call in there too for this as well, which I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So
Um, uh, I'm trying to think back. Let's see. The most, I guess, it was really cool to see, because they did a lot more showing than, or I'm sorry, telling than showing with the
mm,
Budapest stuff. They did have the flashback scene with the explosion where Natasha plants a bomb on Dreykov's daughter, and Dreykov's daughter goes inside and blows up Dreykov's penthouse or whatever it was. But then it felt like they talked about it a lot more, because I wasn't super interested in that side of the mission. I was more interested in how they got out, and I liked that the way they showed that was, they needed to escape Budapest again, Yelena and Natasha, and so they went with the route that Natasha did with Clint. They hid
yeah,
in the subway air vents, and they showed the tic tac toe. I was like, yeah, we were hiding in here for two whole days. It's like, I liked that they had all that stuff. They showed the arrow markings on the wall.
I was
I
gonna
think
say
they
that.
did yeah, I think they did a
I thought
really good job.
that was a good nod, right? Because what was the line? It was like bullet holes or something like that. She goes, no arrows, and it was like there was a small Hawkeye presence, which I thought was a
Hmm.
nice touch, just because those characters are obviously so connected.
Hmm.
Obviously, it's how she dies. So the fact that they
But
were
they
able
didn't
to just
overdo it. They didn't
Right.
overdo it, and they made it about about running away from Taskmaster and the Widows.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, that was a nice touch to have Hawkeye in there. You said you wanted to talk about the Quinjet scene.
The Quinjet. Oh yeah. Okay, so I got a little bit lost, and I was really wanting to talk to you about this because I couldn't get it totally figured out timeline wise. So at the Quinjet scene, it's at the very end of the movie. It's 2 weeks after the event of the Red Room crashing down, which I do still want to talk about the Red Room a little bit more. She gets this Quinjet from her. I don't even really know what to
Her
call
friend,
this
I guess.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, this friend who has
Associate.
crazy connections that,
Yeah.
can get these helicopters and jets and safe houses and everything. So she gets the Quinjet and she talks about how she's going to go to the raft and spring her friends. So, but who is left to be sprung? I guess is my question. So Captain America was never captured. You've got Scott, who took a probation deal.
Yep.
You've got Sam, who took a government deal. So you've really only got Wanda and and Clint, I guess, right? Wanda and Clint. Is that it?
Well, Sam didn't take a go. He was on the run with them.
In the opening of
Of
Infinity
Infinity War.
War, he
Yeah,
was on
I
the
think she
run.
just went to go get Sam
Okay.
because Clint, if you go back to I think Endgame when they show the scenes before his family gets snapped, he's got
Mhm.
an ankle bracelet on, doesn't he? I'm pretty sure.
Oh, that's right.
So I think he and Scott both, because they have families, they have kids. So I think they both took the probation deal. And then I would say, yeah, they sprung Wanda and Sam. Because
Okay,
remember,
that's right.
Wanda was supposed to be with them, but she had gone off with Vision in Infinity
In
War,
hiding. Yeah.
and they were
Okay.
supposed to go back. She was supposed to go
Yeah.
back and meet up with the group. So that leads me to believe that Cap, Widow, Sam, and Wanda were traveling together.
So Sam didn't take his government deal until after the events of Endgame. I think that's what I think I misplaced that in the timeline, right? Because he would have
Probably.
still been an enemy of the state or whatever after Endgame, right? Because the Sokovia Accords, are we supposed to believe that the Sokovia Accords still exist? Like, is that still a thing, or did that just go away after the snap?
I I think it's a thing, but when you look at it, like Spider-Man takes place after Endgame, and Spider-Man actually, I'm talking about Far From Home, actually takes place after Falcon Winter Soldier. Like it takes place beyond that. So, and like WandaVision, there was no mention of the Sokovia Accords in WandaVision, was there? I mean, I know Sword was trying to stop her from that
Yeah,
thing that she
I
had,
don't know.
but
There were just bigger and more important things going on than the Sokovia Accords in WandaVision.
right. Well, and you also have to figure, if you go back to the end of Endgame, Colonel Ross is there at the funeral with all of these people that broke the rules. So it's like
True. Yeah.
I don't know. That's another thing I sort of have right now is I'd like them to clarify the Sokovia Accords and if that's actually a thing or not. Because yeah, you have now WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, um, plus Spider-Man, all of these events, and we know Shang-Chi as well is gonna take
Hmm.
place sometime around the current timeline, and that's stateside. That's gonna be on Earth, right? So
Yeah.
are there going to be repercussions for these heroes running around doing heroic things? Or I agree, but in terms
I
of the
don't know.
timeline, that was yeah that was I would imagine she was getting Sam and Wanda.
So you said Spider-Man takes place after Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Do you know that from just like people talking about it on the internet, or is there like a scene or event that tells you that you know that?
Well, we know that it's during the school year. I would imagine it's because right they're in school, they're in class. I would imagine it's sometime in the fall. Fucking Winter Soldier appears to take place sometime in the spring or summertime. Seems
Oh,
like.
okay. All right.
I thought I saw something that Marvel stated that's the order. I know that the order right now for sure is Endgame, Loki. I Falcon Winter Soldier, WandaVision. I think Spider-Man takes place either after Wanda or right before it or somewhere around that time.
See, Loki, I'm not even really concerned about like when that is compared to the other shows because it takes place so outside of time that it doesn't even really matter that much, in my opinion.
Kind of does though. It kind of does because I mean, when you have Spider-Man coming out next and Doctor Strange coming out next, it's supposed to impact both of those pretty heavily.
No, I know.
Right?
I mean, but like if you say, okay, so Loki takes place right after Endgame, right?
Yes.
So, but
Technically during. I mean,
yeah, but what I mean is like it doesn't have an impact on WandaVision or Falcon and the Winter Soldier or Spider-Man Far From Home or it doesn't really matter that it's before that.
it doesn't matter necessarily. That's just kind of what it is. And Marvel has confirmed that that's when it takes place in
Okay. Yeah.
timeline order.
I guess as far as I'm concerned in my head, like unless there's something that outwardly like affects a different like if there was a scene in Loki that makes how do I even put this into words? Unless there's a scene that tells you deliberately, like this is the year, this is exactly when this happens, or they reference something that that did happen, and then in a movie that comes out later, like it doesn't really matter to me. I would just watch it in the order that it comes out in, I guess. But I'm also one to never watch something in chronological order. I'm always someone who watches the original trilogy, then the prequels, then the sequel trilogy as far as Star Wars is concerned. Yeah. But like I would never watch Captain America the First Avenger first just because it opens in the 40s. Like I would never watch Captain Marvel before Avengers 1. Like I would just watch them in the order that they came out.
That's how I do Marvel watchings. With Star Wars, it's a bit different. I think you can really kind of pick up anywhere you want. But with Marvel, I absolutely I will watch Cap 1, then Captain Marvel, then Iron Man, Iron Man 2.
Yeah, I can't do it that way. Yeah.
I think that's the only way to do it, to be honest with you.
Oh my God, that's insane. Yeah, I feel just as strongly in the opposite direction.
See, we're really deviating from Black Widow, but I will tell you why.
Totally, yeah.
I'll tell you why. So like Cap 1 happens, and then you have he's brought to modern day, and you have Nick Fury there, and so you have the scene where he's I got to bring you up to speed, and then that sort of puts him in the background, but then you're also introduced to Nick Fury, and then you come to Captain Marvel, he's in it, they do Captain Marvel, and then he ends the movie as he's coming up with the idea for the Avenger Initiative. And so that's like, oh, what are the Avengers? And then you go into Iron Man, and then you have that post-credit scene where Nick Fury talks to Iron Man. So now you've had him technically at the end, throughout Captain Marvel, but at the end of these three movies. Then you do Iron Man 2. If you would like, you can do Hulk here. I typically will. I have not watched that movie since probably it came out, but that's where you'd watch the Hulk. Then you have Thor, and the way that Thor ends, it's Loki is talking to Selvig, and that's a major lead-in to the Avengers movie.
Oh, I see.
And then the Avengers movie ends with Loki going back to Asgard. So then that's when I'd watch Dark World, and then I'd watch Iron Man 3, and then you do Cap, Winter Soldier, and then that's when I would take a break and I would do Guardians 1 and Guardians 2, because there's 2 months time between Guardians 1 and Guardians 2 in real time.
Yeah.
And then so now you've had a break, you come back to Avengers, then you do Ant-Man, then you do Civil War, and then this is where the order really gets weird, because then you could really do the next few movies in any order you want. This is where I would start doing Black Widow. This is where you do Homecoming, Black Panther. I think you can do any of those three movies in any order you want. And then you do Doctor Strange, and then you do Ragnarok, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Infinity War, Endgame, and then you bring in Loki, WandaVision, Falcon, Winter Soldier, Spider-Man.
Okay. I'm just going to say right now,
the only thing
I'm not going to argue with you.
Real quick. The only thing I will say is some of the post-credit scenes, then you would probably want to skip and watch them on their own, like on YouTube in between the movies, because then it would be imperfect, because then you have, like, obviously Black Widow. That post-credit scene that early on really looks like out of place, right? So, like, obviously, yeah, you'd have to adjust it with post-credit scenes, but in terms of the movies, that's how I prefer doing it. It's a little OCD, but
And I think that that is why I don't do it that way, is because of post-credit scenes. And also, like, like what you said about Guardians 2, like it takes place 2 months after Guardians 1. So like you would watch Guardians 1 and 2 back to back. I would space them out just to I don't know. I don't want to burn through Guardians 1 and 2 right back to back, right? And also Guardians 2 doesn't affect anything outside of it. You know, it's our Guardians 2 is kind of a contained story.
Yeah.
So like it doesn't super matter where you watch it. I guess it's not important. I guess so like what you said, like the OCD makes you want to watch them in sequential order. I don't know. I don't see it that way. I would rather watch it in the order that they came out, because I can appreciate a good prequel. I don't need I don't need to I don't know, like when I'm watching a movie, I don't want to take out flashback scenes and watch them first. Like it feels good
That's
to watch
different though.
okay, what I'm saying is, like, it feels good to watch a flashback in the moment. You don't need to know who Captain Marvel is in phase 1. You like, it doesn't matter. I just think that Captain Marvel's story is more, you would just appreciate her story more if you watch it before you see her enter Endgame, I guess.
And that's fair. And I also agree that like it's imperfect with Guardians because it's really like that has no impact on the main MCU timeline at all, either of them really. So
Yeah.
like that, I definitely agree that for me, I guess the excuse for Guardians there is because you've had all these Avengers movies. You can take a quick break from that, and then you come back in an Avengers movie. But I will say that Falcon and Winter Soldier is a more perfect lead in, and not Falcon Winter Soldier, Cap Winter Soldier is a more perfect lead into Avengers Age of Ultron than watching two Guardians movies. I just don't know where else you would put them. And then to the Captain Marvel point, that's a good point. My only thing is I would rather watch Infinity War Endgame back to back. So I mean, I guess you could watch Captain Marvel before Infinity War, but
Yeah.
and it's like then if you're talking about post credit scenes, that her post credit scene
Yeah.
is
I guess I don't have a problem letting it breathe, I guess, and
that's
watching
fine.
something else, because I mean, I don't know, like I would totally do it your way. At some point, it's just definitely my preference to watch them in order. And if I'm going to recommend, like if I'm introducing this to somebody who's never seen it, you have to pretty much tell them to do order of release, because of spoilers. But you know, you would get spoilers from post credit scenes a lot of the time.
Again, I would say you'd skip post credit scenes and you'd watch the ones where you need to watch them where you need to watch them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's all right. It's what a deviation. It's not that important, I suppose. but I guess it does matter because this movie comes out at such a weird time that it does matter
Yeah.
where you would watch it. And that's where I would watch it. I would watch it after Civil War. But
Yeah.
you said you wanted to talk about the Red Room more.
Yeah. Okay. So never in 100 years would I have guessed that this was a flying city. I thought that reveal was super cool. What'd you think?
Yeah, I didn't think that was going to be the case either.
Mm-hmm.
It almost feels like so we know that I keep wanting to call her Scarlet. we know that
Same.
Natasha we know that Natasha and Melina are having that conversation, and then Melina says, I called the widows. And so it's like the whole point was to find the Red Room, and in a way Melina was trying to turn them in, but she ended up helping them out inadvertently. And it's, I don't know, I guess it's a weird, I don't want to say it's even a nitpick or a gripe. It's just like, yeah, I didn't expect it to be a city in the clouds, a Bespin type place.
Mm-hmm.
And then like they kind of just happened upon it conveniently, which is fine, I suppose. But I thought it was great, and it made for quite an exciting final battle, final climax, I suppose.
Yeah. Sorry, I got distracted for the first time when we're recording this. I just, my iPad just said 10% battery. I never.
Oh,
I was 100% when we started recording. I guess we've gone a little long today. Okay, so yeah, they. I'm sorry, I got distracted. So yeah, they were going to look for the Red Room. Nobody knew where it was, and then they just hand delivered the Red Room to them, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. Convenient, I suppose. Not. I don't want to take the gripe because it's like, how else would this have happened?
But like, if you're thinking, if you're thinking, if you're Dreykov, right? I mean, you believe that you have them under your thumb, right? Like you trust
yeah,
Melina,
yeah.
you know, you think that Melina is Melina, but it's actually Natasha, and then you have Natasha and Alexei in impenetrable cells, and then you have Yelena about to have her brain cut open. Like you really think you've won if you're Dreykov. You're not worried about revealing the location of the Red Room to them at that point.
I agree, and I thought that whole sequence was a lot of fun. We talked about it a minute ago with the masks that change your face. How it ended up working out phenomenally because yeah, Yelena thinks she's about to die. She gets this message of, hey, you've got a, what is it, like a knife or something in your pocket, and you grab it,
Yeah,
and then it's like, what's going on? And then yeah, Melina gets out of the cell, and Red Guardian's like, wait, what's going on? Like, what is this? And then yeah, Black Widow is there in the room, and it seems like she's got the upper hand. And then but then you also learn, then it comes to the point where it's like, oh, there are pheromones that keep you from being able to hit me. But you also know that then you find out that Black Widow already knows that and is just playing him, and which is I think a really solid nod to the first Avengers movie where she's held hostage, and it's seemingly held hostage, but is actually getting what she wants with her own
yes,
tactics. This is like a callback to
yes.
that, I feel like, where she's in a true spy form. She is totally in control at the entire step of the way. I thought that alone did such a great job at making her a solid, believable, legitimate lead role character.
Mhm.
And I think why she deserved to have her own movie much sooner than she actually got it.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for your cooperation moment. It worked super good in the first Avengers movie. It worked super good here. Um, I like the way that they flash back to the part where Melina and Natasha are making this plan in the moment.
Yeah,
Like they're revealing their plan to us in real time when it
yeah,
happens, when we're seeing it. Like that's good. That's good action movie formula.
I agree. Yeah, that was really well done, given to us in a great way that it keeps you like, oh, okay, all right, I see what's happening, and it was, yeah, really great reveal, really well done. And then of course, this all the action flying through the air. As
Yeah.
unbelievable as that can be, it was so well done, and I
Mhm.
liked it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been. I mean, it is. It's a bit cheesy. You really do have to suspend your disbelief for like a free fall action scene. But
Yeah,
like, I mean, you are watching a Marvel movie. I mean, the stakes. I thought it was shot really well. It was very exciting. I will say that I appreciated it probably 10 times more seeing it on the big screen, being in the moment, in the theater, than when I'm watching it on a TV on Disney Plus or whatever.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I was into it. I love the free fall scene. I thought it was really cool.
definitely, definitely. Yeah, I think overall it's a solid movie. I would probably put it in the bottom third of the MCU, even with including shows as well. But that's not, I think, a knock on the movie. I think that that's just how strong the MCU is as a whole.
Exactly. Exactly. I agree. I
So
agree.
yeah, I think good, solid movie. I'm glad that she got it. It was a really good way to send that character, that actor off. And we also have Yelena,
Hmm.
who obviously we'll see moving forward. And I guess we can end it on that. Let's talk about Hawkeye now because that's our next lead in, I think.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Yelena in more Marvel properties. She stole the show in a lot of the scenes in Black Widow, and I think that
Mm,
that if that's the one character we take away from Black Widow, the movie, I think I think we're getting a lot.
I agree. Yeah, we talked about it, I think, with Falcon Winter Soldier, the show, how Sam took on the mantle of Captain America, how Marvel is doing a really good job of taking these existing characters and recast isn't the word, but
Passing the
allow that,
torch.
passing the torch, allowing that character to remain with different actors, different characters, and really. It's very comic esque. It's what we have seen in the comics, and they're actually to be able to adapt that to the big screen is, I think, a lot better than what we've seen, for example, with Batman movies, where you go from Keaton to Kilmer to Clooney to Bale to Pattinson and Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
Instead of just rebooting these characters over and over, you're able to continue them on, just with different names, different faces.
Yeah, and she doesn't even necessarily have to take up the mantle of Black Widow. Like, she is a widow in her own right, so she could just go by Widow. You know, they had those white Arctic suits. She could be the White Widow. You know, there's a
Yeah,
lot of things that they could do with that too.
I agree. Yeah, so I'm excited to see her. I really do hope that I think we can assume she will, but I really do hope that she'll be a part of Hawkeye. It made me really excited for Hawkeye. That was a show that I don't want to say I
Yeah, for
wasn't
kind of
looking
the first
forward
time,
to.
right?
Yeah, I don't want to say I wasn't looking forward to it, but I'm definitely more intrigued in it now having seen that.
Exactly. Yeah, because
So
now we know a little bit about, you know, what it's going to be like. You know, I don't think that Yelena is going to, you know, steal Hawkeye's thunder. I don't think she's going to steal the show or anything. I think that she's going to be a small piece of it. But even knowing that one small piece, having it be something as great as Yelena makes me really excited for it.
exactly, because when she does finally pop up, it's going to be one of those oh shit moments where you're like, oh,
Yeah,
like it'll be like Ayo popping up in Falcon Winter Soldier. I think
exactly.
that's going to be very similar to that, where she'll pop up sort of midway through and just kind of be a figure here and there. I think that's what we can expect from it.
Yeah. Well, I
So,
mean, I don't think that they're gonna. I mean, they're not going to be at odds for the length of the show for sure. With them both being really good-hearted protagonist characters, you know, they're definitely going to form an alliance sooner than later.
sure, definitely. So I'm excited for that. I don't know if that's the next show. I think it's either. I mean, obviously, What If is
It's
the
either
next
that or Miss
show.
Marvel, right?
I think it's going to be Miss Marvel now that it used to be. I swear I saw that Hawkeye was supposed to come out fall 2021 and Miss Marvel was supposed to come out winter 2021. Now they both just say late 2021. And so
Yeah.
and anytime I see any sort of like listing of the shows, it has What If, then Miss Marvel, then Hawkeye. So I feel like Miss Marvel might actually be next.
That should be
But
fine.
I'm fine with that. Yeah, but I am looking forward to Hawkeye whenever it comes.
Yeah, I'm interested in how the MCU is going to do Miss Marvel. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about her. I feel like I learned the most about her with the Marvel's Avengers game. I think that she was
Mm,
kind of the team. She was the character that brought the Avengers back together. And I thought that was a really cool character moment for her, for arc for her. I don't know what she's gonna do. I don't know what her role was gonna be in the MCU as a whole. But I am interested to see what her story's gonna be like.
for sure, I am too. Yeah, I don't know anything really about her. I never played that game, but I do know that she'll be in the Captain Marvel movie next year. And Captain Marvel as a character, I'm more indifferent about, but knowing that we'll have this new character in it as well as Monica Rambeau from WandaVision makes me excited to see what they're going to do with those characters. I think that's the biggest thing with me with Captain Marvel is similar to Black Widow. It's a prequel type movie that takes place kind of in the thick of things, whereas now they're going to bring it back to current time, and that's going to be a bit more exciting for me, I think. So.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of cool Marvel properties to be excited about. A lot of cool upcoming shows, movies. We were just talking before we hit record that Shang-Chi is now about a month away, and it kind of blows my mind. It felt like when the trailer came out, it was so far away.
I
But
know.
it's been a little like outside of TV shows, everything that's so great about Disney Plus. It's been a little light on Marvel content lately. Nothing in 2020. We had to wait a whole year to get Black Widow, and it's really feeling like things are gonna start getting back to where they used to be pre-pandemic with the three movie releases per year, which is super
Sure.
exciting.
Well, when you think about it, yeah, again, we talked about it before we hit record. January, we had WandaVision. That lasted till like late February. And then midway through March, you had Falcon Winter Soldier. That lasted all the way through late April. Bit of a break in May, but then June comes around with low key. Black Widow pops up July. Next month is August. We're going to have What If. That's going to go through October. I think by that point, surely they're going to talk about Miss Marvel or Hawkeye. And I would imagine those are going to run back to back. Shang-Chi's coming out in September. Eternals in November. Spider-Man in December. And then I think next year is even more exciting when you talk about Doctor Strange, Thor,
Yeah.
Black Panther 2, which I'm curious to see what that's going to consist of, and the Marvels. Plus, I know I'm on a rant here, but then you have She-Hulk and Moon Knight and Armor Wars and Secret Invasion. There's so much coming, and they're just throwing it at us. They're slingshotting it in our faces, and I'm not upset about it.
Yeah, it's definitely weird to think that say 3 to 5 years ago when Infinity War was on the horizon, that would not be the end of the MCU, and that we'd get bigger and better things after that. You know what I mean?
Well, take it even further back. Let's talk about the first Avengers movie, where that was such a big deal to have 6 heroes in one movie, and people thought that might not work, and it was a smash hit. And then I actually saw a meme the other about a month ago, a video meme where he was like, in 2012, can you believe it? We had an Avengers movie. I've even heard we might start getting 3 Marvel movies a year. This is great. And then it brought to current time. And it's like, we got Black Widow and Loki episode whatever the same week, but they don't have the Spider-Man trailer. This is stupid. And so we're so spoiled now. So
that's true. That is true. Yeah. And thank God for the success of the Avengers. I mean, looking back on it, like it's a little bit of I'm not going to call it a misstep, because it is great, but the tone was so different then than it is now, that I think that if the first Avengers movie would have come out today, it would not have been as liked, as beloved.
Probably not, but I think it holds up. I think that if you watch it, it's still a really good movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. It's still got that heavy shield vibe that we don't really have anymore. But
it's a different era. Yeah, it's a different.
It's a good way
era
to
of the
put
MCU,
it. Yeah,
but it works, right? Because if you do watch it in whatever release order or actual chronological order, whatever you want to say, there's an obvious growth, and now we have aliens and gods and cosmic beings and celestials and all these bigger things, and it's like that was such a more grounded section, but it makes sense, right? The universe has grown, and I mean, I talked earlier on in this episode that there's a slight bit of Marvel fatigue in me, but there's still so much to come out and so many good shows and movies that hopefully that fatigue wears off a bit, because I mean I am looking forward to what's coming, but I would like a little bit of a change up too. So we'll see what they have in store for the future. It's an exciting time to be a comic book fan.
Yeah, for sure. Well, what do you think, man? You wanna call it?
I think that's a really good spot to end it.
Yeah, I agree. It's been a blast. I'm glad we did this little surprise episode.
I am too, and I think that we'll have to do this for the rest of the Marvel movies, even if they're not on Disney Plus. I mean, I think Shang-Chi and all those are going to be on there, but we should make this a part of the routine. Talk about the movies when they come out.
Yeah, I agree. A little chiller vibe with no notes or talking points or anything.
Definitely. So yeah, well, thanks folks for hopping on and listening to this with us. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode. Let us know what you thought. I talk about it at the end. The best way if you want to support us is to share the episode with a friend or 100, however many friends you have. Let them know about the show. Let us know what you thought of Black Widow and how excited you are for the Marvel Universe. All of the links to our social media accounts are in the show notes. And that'll be it for us, folks.
Yeah, thanks so much for watching. We will catch you later.
Peace.